Hi everyone, this is Darren here, and today I'm going to teach you more about the cross method. So the cross method is a method you can use to help you with your factorization, but it is a method you only use for factorization whereby it is slightly more complicated. So the basic factorization ones, the easier ones, you don't need to use the cross method. So I'm going to go cover some basic factorization and then slightly more advanced factorization methods. And in the advanced factorization questions, we're going to use the cross method. Okay? So I start off with the basic factorization, how it's going to be done. So let's say the question gives us 6x minus 3. Now, we are to factorize this. The question is asking us to factorize this. So we need to realize that both terms here can be divided by 3. So I'm going to take out 3 from both sides. And what will happen is we're going to just get 3 bracket 2x minus 1. Why is this the factors of this? Because if we were to expand it again, we'll get 6x minus 3. Because 3 times 2x and 3 times minus 1 gives us 6x minus 3. So we have factorized this question 6x minus 3 simply by observing that 3 can be put out. Okay, now let's say we have a different question, this time with addition. So maybe now 8x plus 4. Okay, so here we realize that both can be divided by 4. So let's pull out 4, right? So we divide 4 on both sides, we get 4 here and 2x plus 1. So again, we have factorized this question. So these are the simpler examples of factorization. But now, let's say you get a tougher question. Okay, in the exams you see a question such as this, and it's not as easy, right? Let's say you have x squared plus 4x plus 3. Wow. Now, if I didn't learn the cross method, I myself would have no clue how to do this. I'll be thinking like, what? Do I pull out maybe 4, pull out 3? No, right? It doesn't make sense. Because if I pull out 4, this can't be divided by 4. Pull out 3, this can't be divided by 3, etc. So, through my understanding of cross method, I know that actually the factors of this, right, would be in the form as such. So it would be in this kind of form. So now you may be thinking, why? How do I know that there's four terms, right? So I know it because I've used the cross method on many other questions like this, and I know that the answer is always going to be 4 different terms. So now I'm going to show you the cross method, right? So, and eventually you see that our answer is going to be something like this. There'll be four terms, okay? But the cross method, we have to take note before we use the cross method, is that it is a method which we only can use for some questions. So you see, the key thing in the cross method is that we want an x squared. Okay, we always want an x squared. If it was x cubed or x to the power of 4, we might have to modify the question before we go about using the cross method. I won't be explaining those because I believe that this is slightly more advanced. They'll be covered in maybe another video, or it is a higher level, maybe the O levels you might need. Okay, but in this video I'm trying to cover the basics. So we're gonna I want to leave it to x to the power of 2. Okay, so I'm using the cross method to only deal with x to the power of 2. So that's one important thing. So take note, the cross method can only be used for, not only be, can generally only be used for x squared. So if this was x cubed, you have to do something else to it. Okay, as I said, I won't be covering that. Okay, so now on to the cross method. So the cross method, I've drawn a cross here, but it is a bit lopsided, and that is the cross method. Okay, because you want to have a slightly higher top and a longer left and a short right and a short bottom. So what happens is that with this cross method, we have to realize that there are 9 terms to be put inside. So I'm going to put a bubble, a circle, okay? So I'm going to put them here. Such. So in this cross method, what happens is we are going to start off always from the bottom. Okay. So in the cross method, you always need to realize that there are 3 terms here will go into these 3 circles. But in which order, that's important. It's not so straightforward like x squared here, 4x here, and 3 here. It's rather, take note, is that the x squared term will be here, the x term will be to the right hand side, and the non-x term will just be in the center. So you write down the 9 bubbles and then you put down the x squared, 3 and 4x. The bubbles and the circles, or maybe which one you want to call them, are put here just for me to show you clearer. But in your exercises in the exam, you don't have to write these circles, okay? I'll show you later on how I use them, do the cross method without the circles. So now, what happens is that you've written down these 3 here, and now you have to start thinking. You take note of something here, you can put something here times something here to give us x squared. So we realize that there are many ways to get x squared, right? We can actually say 1 times x squared, x times x, or x squared times 1. In this cross method, we're always going to use, we're interested in using the x and x, okay? So generally, we'll always use an x here and x here. If this was a 2x squared, then we're going to put 2x and just x. Because 2x times x gives us 2x squared. But in this case, it's just x squared, so we'll use x and x. Yes, 1 times x squared also gives us x squared, but if we use that, right, the cross method won't work and it won't really help us. So take note, use the derivative of x, because we are talking about x to the power of 2, right? So since the x will always be power of 2, I want you to always use x and x here. The number of x's will depend on how many x squared this is. Okay, so we have gone to this, we've done with these 2, and now these last 4 circles here, very, very important. They are to be done concurrently, which means as you're doing these 2, you must keep an eye on these 2, and these 2 will add up to be this. So what happens is actually here, right, you're going to this multiply by this gives us this multiplied by this 2 multiplying gives us 3, and these 2 adding up should give us 4x. So it's slightly different. You see these 2 are multiply, and this is addition, and then later on, once you put a number here and here, you have to cross multiply these 2. So this times this will give us this, and this times this going to give us this. So now we're going to pause and think. What we're supposed to do here is to put the factors of 3. So the factors of 3 can be 1 times 3 and -1 times -3. So both actually, if you multiply them, will give us 3, right? So let's try. Let's get it wrong first, okay? So I'm going to put in -1 and -3. Okay? Yes, it gives us 3, so it kind of satisfies these 2, but will it satisfy these 2 now? So we're going to get x times -1 giving us -x, and then x times -3 giving us -3x. So now -x plus -3x will give us, wait, it doesn't give us 4x, right? That's right, exactly. So therefore, we know that these 4 bubbles are wrong. Because what should happen is, if this is correct, then this should be -4x. So in this case, -x adding up with -3x doesn't give us to 4x, right? This is -4x, so this is wrong. So what you have to do is, instead change. Let's try the other factors. We tried -1, -3, it wasn't right, so let's try 1 and 3. So I try 1 and 3, right? And straight away, you see that it becomes as such. X times 1 gives us x, x times 3 gives us 3x. So you add up x and 3x, you get 4x. So this means we have done the cross method correctly. So simply, we have to just show our answer now. So we have this, the working, and then the answer is going to come in this form. These 2, take note, and these 2. So we're going to multiply it as a cross, but when we express the answer, we're going to just express it as side by side. So we're going to say x plus 1 and x plus 3. Okay? So these are the factors of this. Now, you may be wondering, hey, maybe this is not right, right? So let's see. You can always test, you can back test. So what you can do is you can expand this and see whether you get back to this. So let's expand this now. You're going to get x squared plus x plus 3x plus 3. So you simplify this, these two can be joined together. You're going to get x squared plus 4x plus 3. Hence, these factors are correct. Okay. Another thing to take note before I move on to the next example is that this cross method, there is actually some trial and error. As you saw, just now I was using -1, -3, and using 1 and 3 later on. So when the numbers here, let's say it's not 3, right, it can be very big. Maybe it is 10. So you can have to try 10 and 1, 5 and 2, -10, -1, etc. for example. So it's a bit of trial and error, but you can always use your working on another side of paper, or you can use a pencil to fill up this cross method before you get the final answer. Also, we have to take note that the cross method has its limitations, whereby, let's say, right, let's say, okay, this was positive, maybe positive 29, okay? I changed the question now, I changed it to positive 29. What do we get? Let's try the cross method again. So we're going to put the cross. I'm just showing the circles just for you, but you don't have to use this in the working. Okay, so I'm putting the circles again. From next example onwards, there won't be any circles. So x squared, right? 4x, right? And 29. So x times x giving us x squared. So now we realize that 1 and 29, that's only factors, right? To get the only multiples that you can use to get 29. So you can use 1 times 29 and -1 times -29. If you try putting both them here, these two, we're going to get -x, -30, sorry, -29. So these two you add up will give us -30x. So this is different, it's not correct. And then again, even if it was positive, we're going to get 30x now. So once again, not correct. So you try both combinations and both are not right. The correct factor. So in this case, examples like this, the cross method cannot be used. So this means that we cannot factorize this equation. That's as simple as that. So sometimes the question will ask you to factorize something, but if you can't factorize it, maybe you can just say it's not able to factorize. You know, sometimes they try to pull off tricks like that. Okay, so you don't have to force it. So just take note that the cross method can usually factorize if you play around with the numbers, but sometimes you can't. Just sometimes you can't. So in cases where you can't, you have to just say cannot be factorized. Okay? So factorization is a powerful tool because by factorizing, you can use it to solve for x. If let's say this was equals to 0, once you factorize, you can solve. Okay? But if cases where it cannot be factorized, you can use what I call quadratic formula. You can use quadratic formula to solve for x also. I won't be going to quadratic formula in this video because that's a topic for the higher secondary, Sec 3 and Sec 4. And for this video, I'm just touching on the cross method. So okay. Let's go on to more examples where we use the cross method again. And this time, I'm going to take off the training wheels. I'm going to do it as if I'm the student. Okay. So I won't be having the circles there in the cross method. So let's say we are faced with this question now. X squared, sorry, too small. X squared minus 6x plus 8. Okay, so I'm going to use the cross method. And now I'm not going to write a circle, so what should happen is just x squared minus 6x plus 8. So x and x, and I want to get 8, so I think I use some trial and error. I observe this, I see that hey, -4 and -2, it works out. So I multiply in across, x times -2 giving us -2x, x times -4 giving us -4x, and then I see that hey, these two adding up gives us -6x, so this is correct. Okay, so because a -4 times -2 gives us 8, right? So it's also correct. And -4x plus -2x gives -6x, so it's also correct. So I know that, of course, x times x is x squared. So I know that the factors will just be simply as we recall. I'll be taking it as such. So x minus 4, x minus 2. Okay. So this is using the cross method to factorize this question. So of course, if you want to backtest, you can. If you're not certain that you've done the factorization correctly, you can always expand this again and see if you get back to the original question. Okay, let's move on to another example. Okay, say now I had x squared minus x minus 30. Okay, so minus 30. So I'm going to factorize this again in the cross method one more time. So put the cross, put the x squared minus x minus 30. So x times x giving us x squared. And then we have the 4 terms to input here. We know that we are going to choose 2 numbers whereby once multiplied by the x's, we get the result. We add them together and we have to look at the result should be -x. So in this case, I know that if it's -x, that means the 2 factors will ideally be very close numbers, right? So maybe since it's 30, maybe 6 and 5. So straight away I zoom in 6 and 5 because 6 and 5 are just one number apart. So one number apart giving us -x possibly, right? So I try first, maybe I try -5 and 6. Okay, I cross multiply x times 6 giving us 6x, x times -5 give this -5x. Then I ask myself, is this correct? I add these two, 6x added, minus 5x, we're gonna get, no, right, it's not -x, it's just x. So this plus this is x. So I now know that my input here is wrong, my trial is wrong. So it's a bit of trial and error. So now I'm going to try another guess. So let's say I try it the other way now. Instead of -5, I tried -6. Let's see what happens. X times 6x minus 6x is going to give -6x. Sorry. And x times 5 giving us 5x. So I add these two up now. I realize, hey, it is -x. So I know that this is the answer and I'm correct now. So therefore, the factors will simply just be x plus 5, taking these two, and then x minus 6, taking these two. So these is the factors for this. Okay, so now to the last example. I've always been using x squared so far, right? But the cross method can also be used if it was more than x squared. If let's say it was 2x squared, 3x squared, a huge number is also possible. But generally, it gets very difficult, but still it is possible. But again, I would say that in exercises, in exams, they won't put so big numbers because it is going to be very computationally exhaustive, it'll be very hard to compute. So let's say, let's use 2x squared, okay? So 2x squared plus 3x minus 2, okay? So this, let's see, can we factorize this? Let's try. Again, the cross method. So now, what happens? 2x squared. So I'm not going to put x squared here anymore because it's 2x squared. So I'm going to put 2x squared here. 3x goes here. -2 goes here. So now, how do I get 2x squared? What times what giving us 2x squared? Remember I said we want x and x, right? Yes, but so now we're going to put 2x times x. We shouldn't put 1 times 2x squared because that will be wrong out. For cross method, we always want to use 2 x's here, okay? The numbers to the left hand side, maybe 2, maybe 3, you know, those are arbitrary, can be changed as per the question. So in this case, 2x and x. So now, negative 2. I want to get a positive 3x in the end, so I need to do these two and these two again concurrently. So I try. Let's say, hooray, let's put a 2 here and a negative 1 here, right? So 2x times 2 giving us 4x, x times negative 1 giving us minus x. So 4x minus x, you add them up, you get 3x. So this is correct. So the factors are just as such. So I'm going to rewrite this as 2x minus 1 and x plus 2. Okay. So that's all for this example, and we have solved it. I hope that you understand how to use the cross method, and if you have any questions, feel free to post them in the comments below. I hope that you enjoyed the video, and please like and subscribe. Thank you.